Hello, welcome to Let's Go There Kush. It's a new year, and of course, we bring you new things, new topics, new exciting activities we're going to be doing this year. We're kicking off our year with the topic of sex. Yes, sex. There's nothing dirty about sex, there's nothing to be hidden about sex. Sex is beautiful, sex is God ordained, is actually a very wonderful experience. None of us would be here if not for sex. Please, if you know any other person who came through any other means, perhaps you should educate us, okay? We know that, of course, we have modern technologies that are doing things, so we do not try to relegate that. But for the majority of us, we're here because of sex. So why has sex been looked at as something so dirty over the years? Why do we hide to discuss sex? Why, especially in our African society? We understand that African society is moderate. African society preaches modesty, which is good. However, it shouldn't stop us from discussing the issues of sex, or the issues, what sex is, and what surrounds sex. Because what we have seen is that a lot of our young people are interested in sex and related matters. And the fact that a lot of our adults or older generation are not comfortable with it has made it seem like it's a bad thing. And so we are here to tell you, sex is a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's actually very sacred. And in discussing sex, we've seen that a lot of abuse has come as a result of sex. And that's because we're really not talking about it, especially in our African society. Again, none of us will be here, or let's say the majority of us will not be here, if not for this particular activity. And that is what has led to the abuse of sex. And so on Let's Go There Kush, we're going to do a series talking about sex and sex-related matters, and how we as adults can manage it, can deal with it, and actually teach the younger generation how to engage in wholesome, healthy sex within the confines of a secured relationship, of course. I am Omoyele Olayiye. I welcome you to Let's Go There Kush. So let's talk about the issue of sexual addictions, because a lot of people are addicted to sex. We don't talk about it in Africa. We don't even like to think about it. But as we speak, it is actually becoming an epidemic. A lot of people are addicted to sex, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't even see a solution. Some people do not even know that they have a problem with sex. They don't even see it as a problem. And the reason is because of the way our society, our religious institutions, and every other institution I think we have in Africa has handled the issue of sex. And so we are bringing this issue to the fore so we can begin to discuss it. The truth is, if we don't discuss it, it's not going to stop the younger generation, the Gen Zs, from discussing it, from indulging in it, from practicing it, and of course from abusing it. Whatever does not have boundaries, whatever people do not learn about, they will abuse. And so the best approach is to actually teach it. I have met a lot of young people in my course of work, in the course of my work. I've met a lot of young people who are at a loss, and yet they are indulging in sex. Yes, they are indulging in sexual activities. Okay. Yes, please, they are. They are indulging in sexual activities, and yet we're not talking about it. And that is why when you go on the streets, you see a lot of young people doing all manner of things that we're not comfortable with, but yet we're not ready to talk about it. We are ready to talk about it now. because we want a solution. And the only way to get a solution, the only way to get ahead, the only way to correct people and to help people really is to bring these issues to the fore so everybody can contribute. When everybody is contributing, you begin to learn, you begin to pick things from different people. And that's what we're talking about today. When you go out, if you're truthful to yourself, you will see that a lot of our young people are addicted to so many things. They're addicted to sex being at the fore and drugs. And these things work on the same principle. Ask a sexual and sexual health rehabilitation and addiction therapist. I can tell you that it's becoming an epidemic. I don't want to say it's an epidemic. It's actually becoming an epidemic. And the responsibility is on us to help those ones. So what is sexual addiction? Initially, I used to think that it was indiscipline. That's just the truth. And I think a lot of people still think that way. They've not yet seen it as a sickness. They've not yet seen it as a problem per se. They see it as indiscipline. A lot of people that are exhibiting a lot of indiscipline. That's not true. Sexual addiction is a sickness. Sexual addiction is a compulsive, obsessive behavior. And this is as a result of many factors that have built up over the years. Sexual addiction is a total compromise of an individual's ability to control their sexual urges or their appetites. I repeat, it is an individual's inability to control his sexual appetites. And these things have become a habit and gradually become an addiction. How do we deal with things like this? How do we handle it? How do we help people like this? Before you can help somebody, you must understand that this situation, firstly, is a sickness. And secondly, you must understand the psychology or the science behind it before you can help somebody. In Africa, when you see people like that, you immediately say they have demons. We say they are possessed. We say, let's take them to church. Let's go pray for them. There are components that are spiritual if you really examine it. Even in class or during this course of study, you get to meet such cases where you know that this particular aspect, not the whole, never the whole, this particular aspect may be beyond what science can explain. But for a large part of it, science, with all the studies, all the research that is out there, we can actually help a lot of these people. So if you have somebody who is addicted either to drugs or to sex, we can help that person. There is no situation or no person you give up on like that. No, we can actually help that person. So you can reach out to me through my numbers or my email is all there. You send us a private message, we'll respond. It is an epidemic. A lot of parents have children who are already addicted to pornography, to masturbation, and to all sorts. And a lot of them are practicing a lot of unwholesome kind of sex, okay? But we don't even know it. And that is why here we always tell parents, go and befriend your children. Get to know what they are doing and speak to them about sex. You should be the first person that should speak to your child about sex and sexual matters. Okay, so let's go back to addiction. As human beings, we have a reward system. For instance, I'll give you an example. Every human being functions on the reward system. What's this reward system? Example, hunger. The moment you're hungry, you're looking for food. I remember back then in school, I think when I was in primary school, when you're teaching and I'm hungry, I'm going to go and grab my cup of tea. I had this flask. I'll just take it and be drinking. There was a day a teacher had to stop me. I was in primary 5. Imagine a primary 5 student has to drink tea in class, because I was not a very big eater, but I could drink a lot. I preferred tea. My mom used to say if not for tea I probably would have died because I would just drink. I could drink tea morning, afternoon, night. because for me that was food. Okay, that's how human beings are built. We are built with a reward system. It's an intrinsic part of us. You must eat. So what does that respond to? Hunger. Eating is a reward for hunger. Drinking is a reward for thirst. The same thing when it comes to survival. We all must survive. The moment you put your hand in a hot surface or on a hot surface, instinctively you jerk your hand off. Why? It's inbuilt. It has absolutely nothing to do with whether you're thinking about it or not. Instinctively, you remove your hand. So it is with sex and sexual urges. It is a form of what? Reward system. And so what happens is that if you get involved in a sexual activity or intercourse, it's your body gets the signals. Anybody who's ever had sex knows that you will definitely get the signals. If you had good sex, you're definitely going to feel good about it. Okay? That is a reward system for your body. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what anybody else is saying. Your body is a biological machine. It responds. It is programmed to respond in a certain way. Now, what happens is that if you have sex and you feel good, and then you go back, for instance, and you begin to watch porn, what is porn going to do? It's going to stimulate you. You're going to be sexually active. So some people, when at work, they're watching porn. On their phones, they're watching porn. And then before you know it, they begin to masturbate. Most people who watch porn masturbate. How many of our young men do not masturbate today? And they didn't start masturbating the day they started having sex. They started masturbating most likely. I mean, the day they started having sex, no, most likely before, long before. Remember that our young men have what is called, yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Ernest Obas. It's a reward system for you. Yes, there definitely is. And when you indulge or get involved in sexual activity or intercourse, you just rewarded your body. It feels calm. And that's how we tell a lot of women, be very sexually active. A woman who is frigid, she has a problem. And like I said earlier, we can help you. There is help. Let's stop demonizing the stains. It is what has brought a lot of problems into our society. We're not talking enough about sex. We're not educating our children. We're not teaching them the right way to handle sex. And nothing in nature exists in a vacuum. Wherever there is a vacuum, something is going to fill it up. That is why today there is a proliferation of the wrong information to our young ones. We really must begin to teach our children about sex. We are going to do a full series about it, and then do a series also about how to help anyone who is addicted to sex. You can be free. I met a lady and she was talking about, her marriage. Her husband doesn't find her attractive anymore. And in discussing with her, you realize that it has absolutely nothing to do with her. She didn't even know that it had nothing to do with her. The man has always masturbated. And so there are certain things that he's already used to. Let me explain. Scientifically, a neural pathway has been formed. The moment you start an activity, your brain immediately gets that signal and it forms a neural pathway. It gets that signal, something is formed, all your neurochemicals kick in and they begin to form a neural pathway. The more you indulge in it, the stronger that pathway is. It's just like driving. The day you started driving is not the day you learned driving. But as you continue to learn, you got used to it. The same with eating or whatever, any lesson, whatever it is that you know, any activity you've ever indulged in. The day you started playing tennis is not the day you became a pro. The day you started playing football is not the day you became Ronaldo. You gradually learned it, and that's how the body learns. Is a natural process. There's absolutely nothing spiritual about it. It's just a biological process. That's how all of us are. Now, what happens in the case of addiction is that it goes through different processes. So the first time was the entry point. where you got introduced to it. Some people, I remember then, when we were a lot younger, it was Hints magazine. There was this Hints magazine. Some of us were reading Mills and Boons. Some of us were reading, there was this book, James Hadley Chase. There were so many of those books back then. Then on the streets, you'll be going along the streets and you'll see this newspaper stand. They'll have the normal newspapers. They'll have the sports newspapers, and then they'll also have the other ones like Hints and all those other ones that were filled with very, very sexual pictures. And a lot of young men were addicted to it. You see them gather and start reading. It was innocent. A lot of them had no clue they were going to get addicted to those things. But gradually, the more they indulged in it, the more they allowed themselves use those materials, they found themselves gradually masturbating. So what do you call that? Is involuntary, but it doesn't change the biological process nor the cycle that is birthed from that activity that you got involved in. And so today we have a lot of young men who are married. You are dissatisfied with your spouse. It's not your spouse's fault, and it's not your fault. We didn't teach that to our people. We didn't help them to understand that it's not your fault. Society actually allowed you to be exposed to a lot of these materials that were unwholesome. They were not age appropriate. And remember that at that young age, habits that you have formed are very difficult to break. As a matter of fact, a lot of them grew and became not just habits, they developed, they evolved into addictions. And that is why we're specifically bringing this series to you. It's important that you now understand what happened to you so you can help your kids. It's important that you understand what happened to you so you can also help yourself and help your marriage or help whatever relationship you're in. It's not your spouse's fault, and guess what? It's also not your fault. You can get help, you can be helped. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. It's not specific to you. It's not unique to you. There's no special village people pursuing you somewhere. It's just something that you were exposed to. And then growing up in a generation where a lot of parents were really not there for their kids, a lot of children, a lot of boys were disvirgined by their own housemates. A lot of them were introduced into sex or intercourse by relatives. Yes, it's the truth. And we're not talking about it. We're pretending and acting like we don't have a generation of people who grew up being abused sexually by either neighbors or close family relatives or even teachers. It happened. I remember a case in my school. It was not something we discussed, but I heard the gist. Then I think I was with social prefect and we used to hear a lot of gist in school, and you are like, what? But it happened. Did it become a school issue? No. Did a lot of people find out in the school? No. But I remember, I was a child, but I remember that something happened. It was hushed. People didn't want to talk about it. Still don't want to talk about it even till tomorrow. I don't know how that person has dealt or if they've ever been able to deal with that situation. But these are things that continue to affect you as you age, as you grow. It affects your relationships, it affects your children, it affects your spouse. And guess what? It becomes a generational thing, because what you are, you pass to your children, and what your children get from you, they pass to their own children. It can be corrected, and that is the purpose for this series. You have to understand that sexual addiction is real in Nigeria. People are dealing with it, and it's time that we helped each other. So if you know anybody who is suffering from sexual addiction, if by chance you have a child who is already towing the line, is masturbating, is watching pornography, you need to pay attention to the series, and you need to get in contact with us so we can help that child nip it in the bud at this particular time before it gets out of hand. Like I said, it becomes a generational problem. We've seen a lot of people in their marriage today who are not enjoying their marriage. Why are you not enjoying your marriage? Some people, when you dig in, you realize that their sex life is very poor. Why is your sex life poor? You came in with preconceived notions. You came into your marriage or with already defined sexual preferences. That's the word, preferences. And then when your spouse is not able to deliver, what happens? Your expectations are dashed. You begin to feel like you are not happy in that marriage. When you dig into divorce issues, is either money matters or sexual matters. Those are the two most prevalent reasons why people break up. Some will just tell you irreconcilable differences. What is the difference there? Just tell us that sexually you are having issues. But who wants to write that down? So they'll rather tell you it's due to irreconcilable differences. Not true. The issue is that sexually they'll tell you they're not compatible. How can you not be compatible? You've been married 5 years. You've been married 10 years. You've been in a relationship for how long? Now you are realizing that you are not sexually compatible. The truth is that the person, either one or the other spouse, has not been able to meet their needs sexually. Why? They fall short of expectations. You must understand that when you are making a video, like when I went to make this video, I had to go and, this is a wig. I had to go put on the wig, do my makeup, dress up, put myself together and say, okay, I'm going to go talk to people. The same thing it is with video. I've worked in media for years, and I'll tell you, when you want to make a video, all those people you see on TV, you put a lot of work into it. Same thing with the pornographic industry. Before they go online, the angles they're going to take, how they're going to shoot it, and they live very regimented lives because you must look good on camera. So what you are seeing is very fake. It's not real whatsoever. It's not real at all. They put a lot of lighting. Even if I ever want to change this video, I know a lot of things to do to change this video, the outlook of this video. They put a lot of lighting, they put a lot of money is spent in the aesthetics to make it really look beautiful. How you going to do that when you want to make out with your spouse or your partner? How are you going to do that? You're going to go through all of that rigorous work. At the end of the day, you would have lost interest. Believe me, you would have lost interest. So when you have such high expectations of your spouse, you've already set yourself up to be disappointed. And what you have done is that you're not going to be happy in your marriage or in your relationship. And so I tell you, you need to dig deep and ask yourself very critical questions about your relationship. And ask yourself, why am I not happy in this marriage? Why am I not happy in this relationship? If it has to do with our sex life, what is the real issue? A lot of people do not even understand that they are the problem in the relationship. They're like, the person can't do what I want. The truth is, you want somebody who's going to blow your mind. But that mind, how blown away has it been before you met this person? Is it normal expectations? Is it out of this world expectations? You have gotten to a point where sometimes you don't even see the out of world expectations as abnormal because you have taken it to be the norm. And that is one of the reasons that led to the issue of side chickism. You know why? Because a lot of men were no longer comfortable or satisfied with their spouse. They believe that you must be able to have different, sample and do all the sampling. These are issues that are eating up a lot of so-called Christian marriages. Because when you were growing up, you didn't really think about Christianity. You were thinking about how to have fun. And then in doing that, you ended up developing habits that is now difficult to break. And as a child growing up, what happened was that you were developing this habit, they now become a part of you. So you even define yourself by those habits. Now, this is what makes me happy. The truth is, you learned something and it has become a part of you. You have taken it as a part of you, even though originally it was never a part of you. And so that's what the series is all about. Teaching people about sex and teaching people how to break away from those harmful habits or addictions that they have acquired over the years. A lot of people did. I remember the first time I watched porn. My mom till tomorrow never knew that I watched porn. I didn't even know we were going to watch porn. Honestly speaking, God is my witness. I had no clue. We saw the CD. The CD had no name. And we wanted to watch a movie. We were like, I think we were like 7 of us. I went to my aunt's place for holiday. So we grabbed it on like, we are going to watch a movie, man. So we took it, then you slot the CD, the flat CD into that place that takes in the CD. We slotted it in and then it started. I can tell you that we're all transfixed. Staring at the screen. Nobody wanted to move. Who's going to move to go turn it off? Nobody wanted to move. Eventually, I think my older cousin jacked up and like, hey, we have to remove. No, she didn't. It was, we heard a noise like somebody was coming. And believe you me, man, that state of being transfixed was wiped off immediately. We regained ourselves, turned it off. You could have seen us scurrying around like rats because we're all confused. Because we knew if they catch us watching this contraband, we are finished. And we ran around, turned it off, yanked off the cords or went to yank off. My aunt came back and was like, why is everything just scattered? Who's going to go and report? Because we were all involved in it. That was an entry point. It was involuntary. It was not planned. And that's how it happened for a lot of people in my generation. You didn't plan and sit down and say, oh, I'm going to do this. It happened. It just happened. Those who were introduced into the act by their house help didn't plan it. Those who were molested by the neighbor or the very friendly neighbor or their uncles or their cousins didn't plan it. But what happens after? You are left to deal with the issues that come up. You are left to deal with the aftermath. And so the question I want to ask each and every one of us today is go back home and think, how did I really deal with the aftermath? Because I keep telling people that I was so freaking lucky. Because the next time everybody left the house, in short, we even planned for them to leave the house. We all came together like, we want to finish that thing we're watching. And we all brought it out. Somehow, I don't know how. Because I've been asking myself, how did I get out of it? I was like, that thing was disgusting. And my cousin was like, no, it was interesting. I was like, yeah, it was interesting, but it's somehow now. And then, children, you'll be talking about it. And I used to read a lot of books. So I knew somehow that it was wrong. And then I remember that we had this teacher in my school who had opened a fellowship. And we have all said we are going to be good Christian girls. This thing we're watching now, how does that make us good Christian girls? So there was a conflict in me. So the second time we put it there, I sat down there, I was watching. I was like, God, it's not me that put it to. I'm not the one that put, when you're arguing with yourself. Eventually I got up and like, this is not working. Because I wasn't paying attention. A part of me was, I was torn apart. And so I don't know how I did it, but I got up and walked away. But my cousin stayed. Luckily, somebody else came, because it's a family house. Somebody else came and then they had to scramble and leave there. The third day, I went downstairs and said I wanted to go and buy groundnuts by fire by force. I must buy groundnuts. So I went downstairs and then they put it on. And I told them, I'm going to report. Because this thing is not making sense. If everybody's going to sit down and watch this porn, that means we are all bad children. If we're all bad children, God's going to take us to hell. That message helped me. I was like, God, I don't want to go to hell. This thing now is hell. These people are trying to make us go to hell. that conflict was in it. I was in junior, so I think I was in GS1. I was having that conflict. What if I had not heard those messages? What if that teacher had not preached to me at that age? What if, because my mom was a nurse. You know what my mom used to do? She used to be so shy. Even till tomorrow, my mom is a shy person. But guess what she used to do? She would make sure she gets all the books about sex, about abortion, about teenage pregnancies, about, relationships. She would bring them home. As at the time I was in GS something, I already knew all about HIV and all. Not because my mom told me, but because she would just make sure that I read all the books. And she realized that I loved reading. So she would package all the books, bring them home, and say, "Oh, Mom, read." I was like, "Yeah, oh, Mom, thank you." And I was really, really happy about it. Because of those interactions with those books, I understood that there was something wrong with this thing we were watching. Not because I was so good. There's no such thing. Every child is exposed to what you as a parent expose them to. Imagine if my mom had not given me those books. Imagine if that teacher had not started that school fellowship to teach us that, we should be able to hold ourselves. And then I had this teacher in my school. Oh my Lord, Mrs. Sede. There was something she said that was so profound to me. And it held me. What was it she said? She said, Linda, they used to call me Linda in school. That's my name, actually. You know what? You're going to be a girl for just a short period of time. But you're going to be a woman for the rest of your life. And I'm like, what? What's this one saying? She said, think about it. I think this was now when I was around GS3 or SS1. I think it was SS1 by this time. She was like, you know what? You are going to be a girl for how long? Maybe by the time you're 18, 19, you're 20, 25, you get married. After you get married, nobody's going to call you a girl anymore. I'm like, Even if I'm 18, she's like, even if you're 17, the moment you get married, you're a woman. And then, how long do you think you're going to be married? I thought about it and as a child, your brain will be working. All the machines are working. And I was like, what? This woman is right. So I went home. I asked my mom, Mommy, why don't they call you a girl? My mom was like, girl? Why would they call me a girl? And then she walked away. I was like, she doesn't even expect herself to be called a girl. And I began to notice that all the adults, nobody calls them girls. They call them women. So here I am. I'm a girl. I should enjoy it. I should savor every moment of my girlhood and not throw it away, because I'm going to be a woman someday, inevitably, whether I like it or not, and I'm going to remain so. As a matter of fact, you graduate from being just a woman to becoming an old woman. And I was like, what? But it stuck with me. That lady, I've not seen her, I can't remember how many years, but that sentence, that statement she made to me kept me for so many years. It helped me. I always remembered that, you know what, I'm going to be a girl for such a short time. I want to be free. I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to be encumbered with so many things. And it taught me to hold myself and to be true to me, not to somebody else. And so because of that, I never allowed any guy or anybody to impose their own wishes, their own desires on me. I needed to wait until I was ready. We need to teach our children this. That lady, Mrs. Sede, she doesn't know what profound, influence she had on me as a young lady. She never, after secondary school, I didn't see her anymore. I moved on with my life, but I can never forget her. Not because she was a great teacher, she was actually very good, but because of what she did for me. And so we're hoping that with this series, we'll be able to also help you as an individual. Because I know a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my friends, a lot of people that I've interacted with who have sexual addictions, not because they were bad, but because they were exposed to it very early and had no clue how to deal with such things. You must break free from sexual addictions. Like I told you, nothing should control you. You should be controlling yourself. No addiction, no drugs, no sex, nothing, absolutely nothing should control you. You should be in charge of you. And if you really want to be in charge of you, you must not let alcohol, drugs, or cigarettes, or whatever it is, control you. You call the shots. This is 2024. Make that difference in your life. Call the shots. And so in this sex series, I'm inviting you, come on this journey with us. Come on this journey. Let your daughters, let your sons come on this journey with us as we learn about sex. Wholesome sex. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful feeling. And for those of you who don't want to teach your children about sex and want to see how you're going to have grandchildren, because some of you are dreaming of having grandchildren, right? You want to have grandchildren, but you don't want to teach your kids about sex. So what you're saying is, Hollywood, please do the job for me. Or Nollywood, please do the job for me. Or please let all the perverts in the world do the job for you. We as parents must realize that whatever you don't teach your children, somebody else is going to teach them. I'd rather teach my children about sex. Give them my own experiences. Let them learn. Get to know where I made mistakes and tell them, you know what, you don't want to make that mistake. Share my experiences with them than have some stranger take advantage of my daughter. That's all I'm going to say today. Please, if you have questions, if you have issues you want us to discuss, we're going to be bringing experts. We're going to be discussing this whole issue. It's time for us to just let it out. It's too much. The secrecy is just too much. It's not good enough for anybody. Sex matters. God created sex. It's sacred, but it's also beautiful. And if we don't handle it the way it should be handled, we're all going to be losers. Look at our society. That should already tell you that we are already losing. So we need to go out there and begin to talk about sex. There was this song when I was growing up. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. That's what I'm going to leave with you today. Go look for that song, play it. Because I remember back then in those days, when you even hear it, you would keep quiet and be strong. You'll be looking when anybody's hearing you, because you don't even want them to know that you can hear that song. You suddenly go deaf, But let's talk about sex. Let's know what we're doing. Let's take charge of this particular topic. Let's help our kids and let's help ourselves. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Just because you were introduced to sex very early, we can help you. My number is out there. Have a wonderful day. God bless you. Thank you. And thank you everybody for being a part of it. Thank you. Oh my God, my sister, Oyeka Keith. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you, Sandra. God bless you. Please remember that if you have anybody who is suffering from sexual addiction or is having issues, with their sex life, that's what we're here for, to help you. Certified as a sexual health and rehabilitation coach, we can help you deal with it. Please don't demonize everything. Let's be real. We're Africans. This is a new time. This is a new era for Africa. Let's do things the right way. Have a blessed day. See you. Please, if you have any questions, excuse me, you can, always write it out. You can send me a message directly and we'll deal with it. If you want to remain anonymous, that's very fine, please. We are ready to protect your privacy. Let's talk about sex. So if you have any topics, any issues surrounding sex that you want us to talk about, please do so. Send it to us. We're ready to bring the experts, talk about it, find answers, because it's destroying too many homes. It's destroying so many of our young people. We don't want that to continue. God bless you, everybody. Thank you, Felix Ejiro. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Usaze. Oh, that's my old classmate. Thank you, Rhonda Dennis, my girl. How far now? That is everything. Thank you, Ernest Obas. Thank you, everybody who has come out today to support and to watch. I hope that you're able to learn something. Thank you, Jeremiah, always a supporter. God bless you. Always having my back. Thank you. I can't say everybody. God bless you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.